Feels that, mate. You started off or what?
No, well I've already said a few words before you got here, so yeah, well I did say welcome to Steve down at the water, but I don't think anyone heard me. And come on, welcome Steve.
Colour coordinated, you live all together.
Where's Amanda gone?
Oh, here I am.
You've done an acknowledgement of country?
I have indeed, but I'll just repeat it for your sakes. That I acknowledge that the land on which we gather today was and will always be Aboriginal land. But not just the land, but the sea. Because here in the Shoalhaven, in the Yuin Nation, they are saltwater people, and their connection to land and water is part of the very heart that they bring to us. And I appreciate and acknowledge the elders, past, present and emerging.
Thank you for that. I'd just like to comment on the Indigenous peoples of the world and suggest that there was a culture here for over 40,000 years, and then another culture turned up 230 years ago, and we can actually see the end of that culture. We'll be lucky to make 300 years, so it is my opinion that it is the Indigenous cultures of the world that will survive whatever is going to happen with climate change, wars, etc. So, what do I talk about my whole trip? The most exciting thing, I guess, was the Mississippi, but that was the thing that did me in. I had to get off the Mississippi and hire a bike buy a bike from Walmart and ride across Tennessee and North Carolina. But as an engineer, I'm taught to do risk assessments, or supposed to do risk assessments when you do a job. And had I done a risk assessment for the Mississippi, it wouldn't have helped me one little bit. The problem with the Mississippi is that there are no banks. And that's very, very difficult to conceive. You think in Australia, if there's a flood, you just paddle out to the edge of it and you're on a bank. In the Mississippi, that doesn't happen. What it is an engineered river in between levee banks. So I was, say, 12 metres up in the air when the flood was on, and so I was in the treetops. And the bank was about 2 kilometres away, because they grow trees and all sorts of things between the levee banks and the river. So there is no bank to pull out when you want to pull out, and if you want to put your tent up, then if you find a hill 3 hours before sunset, you better stop, because it can be 3 hours between hills. So that was the biggest surprise, I guess, that I had. Why do I do this? In 2006, I had a motorcycle accident in the desert near Alice Springs, and because of modern technology I was picked up with an air ambulance plane and put in intensive care and fixed up. And when I realised that I'd nearly died there, I decided that I would make every day count, which I've done that ever since. But 6 years ago I started to have grandchildren. I've got 5 now, and I have to be able to look them in the eye and say I did my best. I don't know whether that'll be good enough. One of the things that Warren has read is an account, because Warren is a supporter, one of the support crew. I asked previous support crew, like my mate Trevor, who I worked with in Libya in 1977, and he took me through France, and he said that what I do with climate change and talking to people is infectious. So what I'd like everybody here to do is take that on board and try and infect the rest of society with our enthusiasm for doing something. One of the scariest conversations that I've ever had was 3 nights ago. There were 6 engineers around the table, and we were saying what we thought the future might be if we didn't act. Now, we understand if we act, we'll be okay. We understand if we declare an emergency, we'll be okay. But if we don't, I was suggesting that the wars that we will see will make Syria look like a picnic. Now, Syria was due to climate change. They lost 80% of their livestock and 60% of their arable land, and the Syrian Minister for Agriculture said this is beyond our capacity to cope. A number of years later, in the camps around the cities where there were 2 million people, some ratbags formed ISIS. We have enough ratbags in this country if that sort of thing happens. So I was talking about what things might be like in 2050, which is when my kids will be about my age, and my grandkids will be about 40 or so. And I thought it was going to be really, really bad, that we would probably have horrific wars, we would probably have all sorts of issues. And I was hoping that the 6 engineers hanging around me would say, "You're a nutcase, Steve." But every one of them said, "That's what we think." So that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting to have a livable future for our grandchildren. And that's why I've spent every bit of money I've got. That's why I do what I do, and we all need to do what we can. It's just lucky I can paddle a fair way. You guys figure out what you can do. So that's about it. Thank you very much for turning up. Thank you very much for what you've done so far. And thank you very much in anticipation for what you're going to do in future.
Thank you. The last little thing that we're going to do today is Amanda's actually going to sign the pledge for a climate emergency declaration. Yeah.